Welcome to The Brain Dump, where we study the psychology of success. Join us as we probe the habits, rituals, and routines of top-performing artists, entrepreneurs, authors, athletes, and more to uncover the timeless principles we can all use to take our lives to the next level. Are you ready to plunge the grunge that's been gunking up your mind's eye? Great, then let's get to it.
Guys, we don't know what's happened to Anthony. He said we're going to go a little hippie for a minute. So I'm very excited to enter the metaphysical world of this mind. I didn't even know he had it in him, guys. So Anthony, what are we talking about today?
The most metaphysical motherfucker you've ever met. No, that's not true. The other day I was journaling, and this concept came to my mind about being the sun, not the stoplight. And that is, at its core, a metaphor that will make no sense until we unpack it. And Austin, I shared that with you the other day, and you're like, I still don't know what this means. So let's unpack this. In the world, and this is apropos to the topic that we did on the last episode, which was all about showing up and how do we help people show up for themselves? Like, you're a coach, you want people to improve their lives, but how do you influence that in a way where they will actually follow through and do the thing? And so at its core of this concept of be the sun, not the stoplight, is what does it mean to be an effective leader or influencer? And this was top of mind for me because I struggle as a leader of people on my team to articulate clear expectations and accountability, and then to equip people with the skills to succeed. Put shortly, like, I suck at influencing people close around me on my team. And so this is a thing that I think a lot about. How can I become more influential and help the people around me to realize their greatness? Because that's my goal. And the idea that came to mind was the moon, the earth rotating around the sun. And yet they never touch. The sun never reaches out and touches us physically, and yet it influences everything that's happening here with its invisible hands. It's lighting us and warming us with its energy. It is spinning us around and controlling our tidal waves and our seasons and our days and our nights. And it's doing all of this. It's influencing us without ever touching us. And the problem for most of us is, instead of being that big luminous body in the sky and figuring out how we can influence people through this invisible force of gravity, instead, we're like the stoplight. We're this little light that's telling people, go, slow down, stop. And we're giving these 3 instructions, and we're trying to be so direct and instructional without pulling back and saying, how can I influence invisibly through the gravity of my actions, my thoughts, by how I show up in all those ways? Because that is, at the end, the influence of the sun is far, far greater than the influence of the stoplight. And so that is what I wanted to unpack today.
So easy for me to talk about because this is my gift. I decided last week or this week that I'm going to make my coaching clients, when they start on with me, take a love language test. And I'm not dating my clients, but it truly is about, how do you tap into somebody? It was just having this conversation where, we're working with one of Maddie's Go Abundance guys who does the EOS specialist, and he's doing EOS on the company. And I got thinking to myself, we've got VAs in the Philippines. We've got people in Tahoe. We've got people in Sacramento. We got me. We got all different backgrounds. And all I was thinking on this 2-hour meeting was, man, you're really going to have to tap into each need of this person and what gets them up and what gets them excited. And you can't just, this is my issue with big coaching groups or like masterminds or something. They're just washing you through the machine that is this generic thing, instead of actually getting down to the core of why you want this. What's the reason? How do I really influence you to be the best version of yourself? And it takes, a couple calls to kind of wash away the society's values, your partner's values, your previous parents' values, right? Like you have to wash away all that to really get down. And in order to do that, you have to be able to influence people and tap into who they are as a person. Like it's very important.
And taking a step even back a little and thinking about, I get this question, and I'm sure you get this too on podcasts of people like, how do you like to give back to the world? Like, how do you make a difference and all that? My answer is always a very selfish one, which is more or less like, I work on myself. I work on being the best version of myself possible, because that gives people like this silent permission when they're around me to also strive to be their best version. And so often, like in high school and college, like we all realize we have greatness, but everybody's afraid of standing out and looking stupid. That's why people are like, self-help? What? What's wrong with you? Go drink a beer. Like, so by silently working on yourself and becoming the best version and giving people permission, and then improving yourself, which improves your relationships, which improves your community, which improves the world. Like it all starts there. And at the core of this analogy between the sun and the stoplight is really recognizing that the sun isn't going out of its way. It doesn't care what the earth is doing or the moon is doing around it. It doesn't need any of that. It just goes on shining its badass self, being the best sun it can be. And it's a beacon. And as a result, it's influencing everything around it. And so almost like step one of influencing people in the world and trying to make it better in general, whatever that looks like for you, is to stop trying to influence the world. It's to focus on you, right? Entirely on the energy that you're putting out and how you're showing up in the universe.
It's the only way. Like I'm not going to go around, and don't get me wrong, when I first did, I was kind of doing that in a little bit till Omar told me to fucking knock it off. But like, hey, look at me. Look how much happier I am. Look how much weight I lost because I stopped drinking. You should stop drinking, right? I'm up on my fucking high horse. And he goes, that's going to get you nowhere. It wasn't until I didn't say anything to anybody and I just went on living my life that I got a text message from a friend who said, hey, you didn't know this, but I've been sober for 4 months because of you, because I said, if you could do it, I could do it. That's when I had the aha moment that you don't influence people by telling them what to do. You influence people by living your best life.
Absolutely. And at the core, that's the analogy, right? Like in your early days of coaching and whatnot, like getting sober, you were the fucking spotlight. You're the goddamn spotlight. Nobody likes the spot or the stoplight, not the spotlight. Nobody likes the stoplight. Nobody's ever looked at the stoplight and been like, thank God I got a red light. Oh, thank God it gave me a green light. We sit there and we're like, fucking stoplight. There's nobody coming. Like, why am I stopped here? This is stupid. Right? Like nobody wants another entity in the universe telling them what to do or how they should be doing it. Mm-hmm. So we rebel like fundamentally against a stoplight. But the sun is completely different. Like you can use that to navigate oceans, right? And we do. Like, and nobody looks at the sun as like, well, unless you're dying of exposure, and maybe in a desert, you probably don't look at the sun and go like, sun.
So I was watching Hermosi last night. Talk to this guy.
I'm sorry.
And he was.
I don't know.
Alex Hermosi. Yeah. And he was saying,
yes, I get it.
Yeah. My boyfriend too. He said that innately what I realized when we started scaling is the more money that I made for my clients, the more money I made. And he goes, that's when the whole game changed because it didn't matter anymore. How do I fixate? How do I support my clients so much that they're living this great life? And then I'm going to make more money. It's the moment that I stopped worrying about it and made sure they were taken care of. And we supported their gym and their needs. And it was like, yeah, that's it. Like the more that my reputation as a coach is on the back of the results of my clients, right? And you watch it in my social media, all the postings switch from I to you, right? I moved all the spotlight off of me and put it on other people, and everything changed.
Mm-hmm. And I want to draw attention to this because I prickle at the word I when I see it, almost always. For whatever reason, when I see somebody writing social media posts, and I do the same thing because sometimes it's hard to share a personal story without using the word I. Like we see the world through our lens. And so we have this tendency to make it about us and use that lens. But I really struggle with the word I hate it and it's necessary. But I think the reason I rebel so much about it is because when we use it a lot of times in social media or in marketing or when we're dealing with clients, let's say, is we're trying to put ourselves on that pedestal. We're trying to like be a stoplight that's like on the pedestal, pretending like we're a sun. Like, look, I'm a sun. The sun doesn't need to convince you. The sun doesn't care. Like the sun only cares about shining light on everything else, right? Like, and by consequence, it's illuminated. And so one thing in general is like, depending on where you are in your career, or your business, your life, if you're listening to this, I don't know, like we have a very diverse audience from all sorts of places, is try to look at the word I and understand why you're using it in the context that you're using it. You know, a lot of times it's to draw attention to us, and so that we can posture or we can be seen in a particular way, rather than using it as a medium to make a point. And that's, I think, the times when that word is actually really powerful. It's like, here's what I've experienced in the struggles, and you can relate to that because we're both human, or maybe you're in a similar place. Like, and so you use the I as a bridge to where people are now.
I always make fun of myself. I always tell my stories. I always try to make people feel better about them by relating something towards me or calling myself out. And it seems to carry more weight with somebody because they look at it and they say, oh, okay, he's been through it, you know, like he's overcome it. Like, yeah, like we're good. Like, I don't know if I've ever told you the story, and I really hope I don't cry because I don't feel like crying today. But one of my coaching clients is an emergency room doctor or nurse. And he's in a city where San Francisco is rough, you know, rough drug addicts everywhere. And he said before I started coaching with him, he was very short and very aggressive with all the people that would come into the emergency room who were alcoholics or drug addicts or, you know, addiction and stuff. He said, ever since I've been working with him, he's found a new respect for it. And he looks them dead in the eye. And he said, I've seen the other side of this, and there's hope. And like his whole manner towards them has changed because he's seen what I've come through, and that being able to have that change, that impact, that effect, there's no price. Nothing even matches close to that.
Mm-hmm.
Super powerful.
You didn't cry.
I know, I'm good.
But you said it kind of got my expectations up there as you started the story. I was like, oh, he's going to cry. But no, I think yeah. I do. I stories and our stories of the places that we've been in, the difficulties, I think they're very powerful. Not because, as we talk about with selective vulnerability, we use it as a prop to get us to the punchline of I'm a badass. Look where I am now. And look what I've overcome. Ha ha ha. Right. The reason for the vulnerability and the sharing is to connect with people who are either are going through a similar thing or have gone through a similar thing. And you can look at each other and say, I see pieces of myself in you. Mm. And that makes all of us instantly connect when I can look at you and say, I see pieces of me inside of you. And that can be especially powerful when where one person is in relation to another, let's say in their life, if that's alcoholism, or in their business, like it's not going as well, or in their relationships, like maybe they're struggling, and saying like, oh man, I can see pieces of myself in you and the story that you struggled through. And now where you are, I can't see where you are without also seeing those pieces of me inside of you. And so that gives me the strength to know that I could do that too. And so again, it's not a mandate. It's not directions in the way of a spotlight saying, do this, do that, and you'll have this result. It's just being yourself and shining as much light. And that, for me, like, as I was journaling about this metaphor of the sun versus the spotlight, it was like, I think just the metaphor of the sun in general is very, very powerful. And understanding like its role in the universe it's everything. Like without that, we're nothing. We're not here. Right. But the sun doesn't care about us, and it just keeps on doing its thing. And there's something deeply powerful, I think, about that.
I love it. So what's the homework?
look at your life right now in the areas where maybe you want to be more influential and you're struggling, or you're struggling to communicate or connect with people, and ask yourself, are you being the stoplight or are you being a son? And and this could be like, maybe you have kids or a relationship or employees, and like, how do I guide them? Because I want the best for them. And like, you could be a coach and saying, I want the best for my clients, but you can't just physically grab them and force them to the end state. Like, anybody that's ever tried that with a kid knows they just rebel harder. So the only way to really guide and influence people is through that invisible hand. So look for opportunities in your life where you're being heavy-handed and you're trying to like manhandle it and force it, and not guiding it invisibly. And step one, I think, is just being aware, right? Like, self-awareness is the master power. So start there. Find the areas where you tend to go into stoplight mode and say, what would it look like if, instead of communicating in this instance as a stoplight, what would it look like for me to be a son?
Love it. Guys, send this episode to some friends, share us, rate us, and review us, and we'll see.
Send it to all your stoplight friends.
You know who they are.
You know who they are. Yeah, they're out there.
Thanks for joining us here at The Brain Dump. Now, before you go, it's important to solidify what you've learned here today by taking action. If all you do is listen, then you're only going to retain a small amount of the information you consumed here today. So take a quick moment to really lock in any key insights, tidbits, or pieces of wisdom that you want to carry with you into the future. You can do this by heading over to iTunes and leaving a review with your top 3 takeaways from this episode. If you've already left a review, first, thank you so much. Second, it's time to start a brain dump journal. It doesn't have to be fancy, just a slip of paper will do, where you can record a couple quick thoughts from each episode. Science shows this is one of the best ways to ensure long-term retention of new information. And finally, if you've got a brother, a sister, a coworker, or a best friend that you think would benefit from this episode, do them and us a favor and share with them this episode. Your support, as always, means the world to us.